just like a very short introduce for you two,
Yep.
and to make people know.
I'm Jeff Lish. I'm the president of the two-wheeler and power sports organisation inside Bosch. The headquarters is here in Yokohama in Japan, and today we sit in our test track in Shiobara, where all of the advanced safety and assistance product is currently being developed.
I'm Nakano from Project Manager Department. I'm in charge of overall ABS and MSC products.
I'm Singer from Joshindo Motor Club. I'm very happy we have the chance to interview or discussing some of the product. In these 2 days, I'm really impressed that because the kernel of the technology of Bosch is to saving riders' life. I tried a system, an ABS system, for maybe 15 years ago, and I still remember in the beginning, your guys come to me to test ABS. I say no, it's not necessary because I'm really proud of my technique. ABS go away, but when I testing with a low mu ground, I really careful to do the braking, but I still do the speed. Then I realized I'm not as good as I expected. So, and today we test some of the maybe a new feature or something is already on the market. I just want to know some of the questions which is we are commonly heard from the normal users. The first question is, how about the stopping distance?
Yeah, this is always an interesting one.
Yeah.
Is it possible for a professional to beat an ABS? And the answer is sometimes. Is it likely that a normal rider can beat an ABS? Not very often. The performance on the ABS system now is much better than when you first started 15 years ago. And it really does do an excellent job of minimising the distance based on whatever is available on the road. Of course, in a particular use case with a really good rider, if they practice on a particular road, they can get very good at it. But very often, when you need an ABS, it's because you don't know what the road is, because there was oil on the road or something like this. And it happens because you don't expect it. If you did expect it, you don't need ABS. And you understand my point.
Yeah.
And therefore the main point for me is an ABS is to make sure you keep the wheels on the road. Because as soon as you're in the first instant when you panic and you lose the front end of the motorcycle, then it doesn't matter. It's already done. And the whole idea is to make sure with an ABS that you keep the bike on the road and stable, because then you have time to think and start to do what you want to do as a rider. But the number of times that happens is not so often. But when it does happen, is when you need it.
Some of the customers, they are asking, like, I'm always riding very slow. So that kind of people thinks maybe it's not necessary because I'm always slow.
I'll always answer this one the same way. I also live at the moment in Vietnam, and every week I see someone lose a motorcycle at less than 30 kilometers an hour.
Oh.
But it's not that they're less than 30 kilometers an hour. The problem is, once you hit the road, you slide along the road and you don't stop. And there may be a truck or a car or something else that comes and runs you over. So it's not the topic of speed. The topic is really making sure the bike stays on its wheels, because then you can do something. You can avoid cars, you can avoid things. But once you're on the ground, you're just a passenger. you're going down the road.
Right. Yeah, you're sliding.
You have no control. This, I think, is a common misunderstanding, that you need to be going really fast or you need to be a high-performing rider. Not at all. A low-end ABS for the emerging market is there purely to stop you from losing the front end or the rear end in a situation, in an emergency situation.
And I also noticed that some of the people, they are confusing about the vehicles or cars ABS and two wheels ABS. So can you tell us about the difference? The key difference between these two.
Car one in some contexts is easier because you have a concept that you have four wheels and they should be sitting on the road.
Yeah.
And this is not so hard to keep four wheels on the road. So the car one works hard just to stop rotation. But on a bike, we have a lot more freedom. We can go over the handlebars, we can slide sideways, we can lay down, we can do high sider. So there's a lot more control necessary on a motorcycle to keep the bike stable. What do we mean by stable? The front wheel stays in front of the back wheel and both of them stay on the ground, which is not a default state. In a car, if you get out of the car, it stays like that.
Yeah.
Bike, you get off it, it falls down.
Then I have some question like, because in Taiwan, most of the people riding scooters.
Yes.
And we do a lot of modification in the braking system, like even the braking system, because I think more and more people want the stronger power of the stopping. How difficult to make it cheaper or easier to the smaller one?
We're continually working on ways to do variation in between bikes. In the past, each variation would be treated as a separate bike, but we now have many years of experience, and our good calibrators can tell you to a pretty high degree of accuracy where you're going to have issues. In some cases, for example, change of tyre size will have very little impact. In some cases, it may have big impact because it's not just the tyre size, it's the geometry of the motorcycle. Together with the tyre size can change things significantly, or it can change things a little bit. And in the future, we will also have the possibility to do some adjustments on the basis of simulation rather than on the basis of calibration. This will definitely come. The big point is not that we can calibrate them. The big point is you have to check all use cases to make sure that it actually works. Because it may work perfectly well on a standard road or on a low mu surface, but then you take it onto a Belgium rough road and it doesn't work at all. Then you would complain obviously and say, the Bosch system doesn't work.
Yeah, I think if it is possible to maybe modify, I think it will be more helpful to increase the market, because when people want to buy a scooter, especially in Taiwan, and we want to change all the things, and when it has the ABS, well, I have to think about it because I have to disable it, then I can do the modification.
And this is always, we go very small into technical for a second. One of the challenges is that inside the ABS unit, we have what you call an accumulator. So it's an area that takes fluid. If you change your calipers and you end up with more fluid in the caliper than you have in the accumulator, then you can end up in a situation that ABS will work for some distance, but then it will lock because there's nowhere for the fluid to go. And this is the biggest risk. And the reason why we basically say don't change things is because that particular scenario. So you'll ride the bike around for years and you think it's okay, and the first time you have a high-speed stop, you can run into a difficult situation where it doesn't work properly. And this is the reason we have to be very careful when we start changing components in a brake system. You can end up with a use case that doesn't work.
So it's okay to change the master cylinders, change the pipe, change the dam?
The master cylinder and the caliper are the two things that are most difficult. But sorry, they create the most risk. If you change the pipe from stiffness or things like this, it has a significant impact on the braking system. It doesn't have a significant impact on the ABS system. But the physical size of the master cylinder in regards to the piston and the calipers definitely have an impact on the possibility of an ABS to work correctly. And that's why you have to be very careful when you change those things, that you don't go away from the geometries that you need from a normal bike.
And from your point of view, which country is really keen to put ABS on the market?
This is a really difficult question because we have so many different segments of motorcycles. Of course, historically, Europe was the first to really push for ABS in general. But since then, in the Asia-Pacific region, we've clearly seen countries like India that have come with ABS legislation, and they will continue to in the future decide that they're going to have 100% ABS legislation. So it starts in different countries for different reasons. We definitely see, I would say in general now, most countries in the world understand the benefits of an ABS system, and then we'll see penetration a lot more. It's sped up a lot in the last 5 to 10 years.
I also test the KTM
Yes.
3090
Yes.
with the wheelie control. It's really impressive. But for me, I'm not doing the wheelie very often, but it do the very good control, like the small height and the bigger height. Your staff asking me, what's the difference between maybe 10 years ago when I'm in the main base and here? But I remember 10 years ago, only the wheelie or not wheelie,
Yeah.
but it's not able to doing like this.
We played with launch control
Yeah.
and we played with wheelie control because it's a dangerous possibility. So it's not that we want people to go down the road hanging a wheelie, but we definitely want them to go down the road and not fall off. And so the launch control and the wheelie control system is purely there to ensure that you have stability in situations where, big motorcycles, if you're sitting there wide open throttle and just drop the clutch, it's not a good result usually, and you can watch YouTube and see what happens. It's not great. So the idea of these systems is to basically stop that from occurring, and I think we did a good job so far on that. We started off history. First, you mentioned 15 years ago, straight line ABS, but then on lean angles, we still had issues. So then we came with MSC, and this made a significant improvement.
Yeah.
Then we said, okay, now we've got stoppies and wheelies and these sorts of things that can also cause people to crash. So we put more algorithms around there in order to make the bike stable. So all of these functions are really built to try to avoid the bike becoming unstable. Then once we got that package together, we said, okay, but now there's still cars that want to run into us. And then the ARIS system with radar is the next best step. Yeah, we basically have a car that pulls out, then the bike should be able to see it and it should be able to deaccelerate so you don't hit the car. The next level of protection around the motorcycle. It's clear that in the future, when we have more vehicles with autonomous driving, we will know where the vehicles are, because that's what a vehicle, if you're an autonomous vehicle, you need to know where you are and you need to know where you're going. If we can give that information also to the motorcycle, I can predict when a car's going to come out in front of me. I can actually slow down before it gets to me. So I think this will be the next level of feature sets where we have additional information coming from either cameras or vehicle-to-vehicle communication or these types of things, where we can take extra action to avoid running into things or avoid other things running into us.
So when we talk about MSC,
Yes.
I have a question that when we doing the cornering and I have too much speed when cornering, and if the system can detect when I do an acceleration, I will have a problem, and it will stopping me automatically.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Back to the autonomous driving topic. With an autonomous vehicle, you need to know what is the speed to get around corners. And therefore, using similar technology, we can also decide on a motorcycle that if you open your throttle now, it's not going to be good. And then we can restrict that opening to limit is a possibility.
It's similar to the cornering
Yes.
steering control.
Yes, but you need additional information, and the additional information is how fast is it reasonable to go through the next corner, and then see what happens, and then start to react.
I also test the ECBS.
Yes.
So it's already in the market, or
Yes.
for that one, KTM 3090.
No, the market release of the first ECBS was basically on the Panigale from Ducati. This was the first release. And the 1390 is not yet released on the market. KTM has released the bike, but it's only now basically starting to come to the market in the next months in regards to physically getting one of those bikes. We have one here, and it's released by KTM for us to demonstrate, but it's not something that's active on the market yet because they're still starting to manufacture. Of course, we would develop them on other bikes before that, but these were non-production motorcycles. They were just our internal development bikes.
I have one additional question. The people says that the ABS system is not suitable for the racing.
So my easy answer to that is please test the latest Panigale,
Yeah, sure.
because the technology has been getting better and better and better. And I would say for most riders now, the Panigale system is an improvement on most people's capabilities.
Yeah.
The system is getting better and better, and the riders are not getting better and better as quick. So therefore, you will get to a point that the system is better than you.
So for the bigger one like big bikes or super bike, I know is already much better.
Yep.
But for the smaller one, because most of the people complain about when they have the standard ABS, when they push hard to the front end, you would feel the forks vibrate. So it's it's difficult to turn into the corner. But that would be better when you have the cornering ABS, right?
Yeah, and it also, again, is very dependent on the hydraulic unit that we're using. We have a range of low-cost units up to expensive units. What's the difference? The difference is there's lots more sensors in the more expensive ones. And with that information, we can make the solution more smooth. Can you do that on the low-end one? Yes, no problems. And we always have this trade-off between having a system low enough in cost to add a significant benefit to the majority of the bikes versus something that is high performance and more expensive. We can do both. It's not a problem to do both. It's just a pure trade-off between cost and performance.
Okay, that's almost finished. Thank you for your time and all the information. It's really helpful. I think we learn about everything about ABS. Thank you.
No problems at all.
好了，那我们今天影片就是访谈的影片就到这边。那如果喜歡的話，請幫我按讚、分享、加訂閱並開小鈴鐺。我是大王Cinco，我們下次見，拜拜。
謝謝。
The general comments about the ABS, as we already experienced today, if you know it, you want. And if you don't know it, nobody cares. So my request for all of the, let's say, listeners or the end users, please experience or try to know it, and then you'll get it. This is the simple comment from my side.